Ohio State has done on the football side. Indiana, of course, this past year.
Only competition, let's be honest. At least for conference supremacy.
And the Big Ten right now is winning the early stages of the NIL era in a big way.
So. The last 3 years, they're winning more in football. They're winning more in basketball. Like, I can't speak for some of the Olympic sports, right? Baseball, softball, all those. But up to this point, pretty clear domination by the Big Ten. And I guess, look, the Big Ten's going to get an ego about it eventually, too. There's no doubt about it. This happens with the conferences. Mm-hmm. But the SEC has essentially been looking down on everyone, including the Big Ten for years, being like, oh, you think you're in the same class? Remember when they were talking about the number of playoff teams they wanted, and they were like, we're not agreeing with the Big Ten. We're the SEC. We should still be deciding these things. Almost like the Big Ten shouldn't be a part of the conversation with everyone else. And so I would just say that, like, it's been a bit of a swing, and it's hard to imagine that that's not it. And this goes back to, man, it would have been good. If the Big Ten ever invites you, if the SEC ever invite you, take the invite.
Oh,
that's why Oregon, that's why USC. It's like, like Michigan won it. That's a Big Ten team. But, we were just talking about like the women's team, UCLA. That doesn't feel like a Big Ten team because that's been a Pac-12 team for all of our lives.
They are now, though.
They're a Big Ten team.
They are now.
So the teams that they recruited and brought in there, it's, it just kind of changes the math a little bit, I guess, if that's the way it were. And so I don't feel bad for the SEC. They've been talking trash forever. I kind of like that they've got a counterpart. I like that they got to like infight a little bit. The only problem with this is if they ever decide to just join forces, as in they decide to collectively start deciding things for all the other conferences, there's nothing. The ACC, the Big 12, there's nothing they can do about it, Gold. Right? They got no seat at the table. We all agree with that? They don't have like a real voice in this argument. Those two, the Big Ten's gotten so powerful now that we're not back into there. Back in the Dusty May side of this for a minute, and then we can talk maybe a little bit about the gameplay. Because you and I did talk about what that would have meant for, Dan Hurley had he won it. Dusty May is only 49 years old. It's not that long ago he was coaching at FAU. Now he's at Michigan and a national champion, and he did it in a way that, in the NIL era, as you pointed out, hasn't been done yet. He had 5 full transfer starters in his rotation. That's crazy. Do you know how hard it is to get everybody on the same page at the same time doing that? You know how many bad transfer situations we've seen at Kansas, K-State, Missouri already? The ones that just never work out. Never the number of AJ stores you see. All he had to do is get one of those decisions wrong that doesn't fit into the puzzle piece, and all of a sudden, nothing. I mean, that to me is crazy.
Yeah, Dusty May, his rise through the college ranks have been awfully impressive. We know what he did at Florida Atlantic. That landed him the job at Michigan. And now my question is, we kind of always try to tie it back to the local schools, and we just got done discussing, Bill Self a couple days ago and the fact that he's not retiring, but he and Tommy Lloyd would have been at the very top of the list for most people perhaps to land the KU gig. Now that Dusty May has won a national title at Michigan, it is still a little bit less likely now that he ever leaves, right? I'm not saying it's a 0% chance that he ever leaves Michigan, but it got tougher to pry him away from Michigan one day. Whoever you are, whatever that school might be down the road that tries to talk to him.
Winning a title,
it changes everything for you. Your entire career trajectory changes when you win a national championship. And you do it at Michigan, which we just got done saying is in the best maybe conference in the country right now based on what they're doing. There's something to be said for that. Now, I want to see if we fast forward the next 2 years, is Michigan now consistently going to be a top 1-2 seed in the NCAA tournament, or are they going to fall back to being a 5 or 6 seed and an early exit 2 years in a row, and then maybe the feeling is different? But right now, what he's done in just 2 seasons, getting to the ultimate peak, which is winning national title, I think it's less likely today than it was yesterday that Dusty May leaves Michigan at some point.
I already told you when we were talking about like the UNC job, it might just be harder to pluck these guys away than before. Because before at Michigan, it's not that it's obviously a very good basketball school. But you could still, if you were Kansas, UNC, Duke.
It's a football school, though,
Kentucky.
What you're saying.
Yeah. But like you used to be able to like take them away from Michigan, right? You used to be able to be like, hey, we're Kansas, we're a basketball school, we're Kentucky. We're one of the 5 programs, 6 programs you've heard of. UConn will be that job when Dan Hurley leaves it, right? That'll be another one that'll be very appealing.
Dusty, the reported NIL budget was $10 million. Let's not act like Michigan
they're not poor.
is spending $4 million.
Yeah, they have great resources. They're spending the same amount of money as KU is.
$10 million this year they did. Yeah, this year they did. To get their first
and also,
national
if
title.
you look at what he's doing too, I think also this is part of the conversation and context. It's not just the NIL with the portal stuff. This year, Michigan has the third-ranked recruiting class in the country, which is better than KU's. It's better than North Carolina's. It's better than UConn's. They are. I think that's the thing that gets lost in the shuffle of this is ultimately if you're a good college basketball coach and you can win games, you're going to get the recruits. Duke's done it for years, KU's done it for years, and Michigan's doing that now. And there's absolutely no single solitary reason for him to leave. Michigan,
I don't know about to say zero reason. I mean, that's a bit
There's
much.
zero reason for him to leave to go to KU or North Carolina because the resources are the same. He's getting better recruits than those schools are, and he's winning a national title at that spot. There's no reason for him to go.
The argument is always like, I can get those same recruits I'm getting now, but at Kansas, you know?
Sure, but he
doesn't necessarily think he's going to get worse.
Sure, but the budget's the exact same, and he's getting better recruits where he's at. Like, there's no reason. There's no. What is the upgrade from where he's at right now?
The incentive to leave, to your point,
there's no upgrade.
As I said 2 minutes ago, it is less likely he's leaving today than it was yesterday. And I'm with you that the incentive to leave is less now than it ever has been. I will still push back that there's zero reason you would leave Michigan for Kentucky or Duke or Kansas or North Carolina. We just disagree on that. But yes, it is different than what it was 15 years ago. It's a no-brainer. To your point,
just part of me.
Now it's got to be. You got to really think about it.
If you can win a national title, though, where you're at, what if you can win a national title where you're at? Forget the money and the funds because
that does matter.
But Kentucky spent $8 million more than anybody else and they stunk.
But that's like saying Ben McCollum shouldn't have left Loyola Chicago. He made a Final Four.
He was at Drake.
Or Drake, sorry. Like it's like if you can make a Final Four.
We're comparing
that's the
Drake.
Extreme. That's
we're
the
comparing
extreme.
Drake. We're not.
That's the extreme.
That's not a good comparison.
I will. Yes. Even though I fundamentally disagree, on the end point, I think Drew is 100% correct on the. You can't comparing Michigan and Kansas is different than comparing Drake and going to some other school.
Historically,
I mean,
it's not the same. But
what about like San Diego State? Like, what's the level of program?
Another Power Five.
It has to be another Power Five. So, at the very least. But people think that Michigan's a bad. I understand that it's a football-first program, but
basketball program.
They've made national titles previously. They've had really, really good teams, and now it just took a really good coach that found a way to put together all the resources and take advantage of what they're having to win a national title. I just don't think if you can win a national title where you're at, you don't need the extra resources to win if you're winning a national title where you're at, why do you need to go anywhere else? Like if you're close, but you're not quite good enough, I understand why you might jump and go to another spot. But if you win a national title, there is no reason for you to leave because in this era, you're doing exactly what you'd be trying to do anywhere else. Like this is where the argument for Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss to go to LSU makes some sense at least because he was close, wasn't able to get it done. He's going to LSU where they have the resources. Like if Lane Kiffin would have won a title at Ole Miss, then I think the conversation would be very similar to this one, actually, where if you can win your national title where you're at, there's no reason to leave anywhere else because ultimately that's the pinnacle of the sport.
Things have changed again. I think it's less likely than before. I still think I still think perhaps you are undervaluing still the historical significance for some coaches. Like Lane Kiffin's not, that example, like he's not, he wasn't 10 years old or just born yesterday where it's like he doesn't know anything about the history. There is still, Dusty May's 49 years old. He still recognizes there is still some prestige to go with the programs and the jobs. I'm not saying every single coach is leaving because of that or cares about that as much as they did 10 years ago. But to act like there's just zero chance any coach is intrigued by going to one of the quote-unquote cathedrals of college basketball, whether we're talking about Kansas or Duke or North Carolina. That's it. But do I think it's tougher than ever to get one of those guys? Yeah. I just am not willing to say that it's just a 0% chance. Once you win anywhere now, nobody's ever leaving.
I don't think anybody's leaving. I just think that for you to win a national
title matters for people.
I know, I understand that. But for you to, if Dusty May, let's say he were to take the North Carolina job, if he were to win a national title and then bounce to go somewhere else where they're spending roughly about the same amount of money, and you're trying to do something you just did at somewhere else, it doesn't. I understand the appeal to go to a program that is more rich in tradition, but why not just create the tradition at the spot that you're at and make it rich where it is when you have similar resources and you just won a title. Like, I don't, there's no reason other than, well, that school has so much history, I'm going to go there instead, when you're trying to do the exact same thing that you did at this school that you're currently at. You know what I'm saying?
But there's almost no way. But, you know, it's like and this is not every program. This is a very small amount. Drew, he could, this could be a Groundhog Day situation. He could spend the next 200 years in perpetuity. He almost can't it is impossible to make Michigan have the tradition of all the schools you're saying. You're like, just make that legacy here. That's asking a lot. What was the last team that like had nothing to do with the blue blood and eventually became probably UConn, and it took like 20 years, 25 years. I mean, he might not see the end of it, but maybe somebody would. I mean, that's just not like that's not a common thing, I guess, to like build up a program in that way. And again, I'm not saying, I honestly don't think Dusty May would take the job. I think I
agree.
And to Gold's point, I think it has become more difficult to lure those people away. But I do think that there's like a part of the back of your brain, I don't know about Dusty May in particular. I don't like know the man, but like we talked about this with Ben McCullum. Like, would he take that job versus like where he's winning there or whatever? And there's like a part of me be like, I think I'd be sitting down if I were Dusty May. Like if I were him going, I'd be like, 2 years ago I was coaching at Florida Atlantic and they're offering me Kansas. I mean, I'd be pretty tempted by like that allure. And
if
maybe
you're Ben McCullum, yeah.
But why, I don't know. I guess I don't understand what the difference between Ben McCullum and Dusty May is.
He's saying because he now knows he
won a
can
national
win. He's
title.
saying,
yeah, because
he's saying
and he's got the third-ranked class in the country.
Yeah, he's saying because he can win there.
If you just mean for like this one individual year, Drew, I don't think anybody's disagreeing. But I just think if you're meaning at any hypothetical point in any point in the future, like, because in your hypothetical, he won the national championship, got a great recruiting class, going to be great again. What if they're a 5 seed, don't make it to the second week in 2 years in a row, and then they get offered the Kansas job?
Kansas was a 7 seed two years ago. I mean, I think the same. I think it's so much different now with the game where you can look at major programs that have not had good years, and KKU was a 4 seed this year. I mean, they've had back-to-back years a 7 seed and a 4 seed.
And they won a title 4 years ago.
Correct,
yeah.
but I'm not crazy enough to say that because of them being a 17 and a 4 seed, that job's not appealing. Like Michigan going 5 and 5 seed again doesn't make the Michigan job less appealing in my mind. Also, I think we're learning too, KU, UK, and Duke are probably the only ones that are about this, but we're seeing it in football too. The program, I think, all of a sudden is not necessarily about the school, it's about the coach that's there. Kurt Cignetti.
And the resources.
Yeah, sure, but Kurt Cignetti is doing
downgrading the resources, act like it doesn't matter.
No, I'm not downgrading the resources, but Kurt Cignetti had significantly less money than many other SEC coaches, and he was better than all of them. Kurt Cignetti is Indiana's culture. Dusty May is kind of becoming the Michigan culture, where if they go anywhere else, they'll take what they have, and everything will follow them, and those programs will be what they were prior to that. Alabama, we're kind of seeing it in a way as well with Nick Saban, where he built up that program to be Nick Saban's Alabama. Now it's completely different. They've made the playoff, but they don't look like the same because Nick Saban's not there. It's not, well, it's Alabama and it's always going to be good. It's Nick Saban made that program so good. I think the attachment to the coaches who are there in those moments is significant now in this era compared to historically what we've seen at Duke, Kansas, and UK. Those are the only exceptions I would think to quote-unquote rich in tradition.
I think you're saying that's why Kansas, and UNC should, go after coaches like that.
I mean, they should go after coaches like that. But again, if you're Dusty May and you're like, I can win anywhere because I'm the head coach, it's not. I don't need Kansas to win. The appeal becomes less. The same thing at North Carolina. I mean, the same thing happened at Alabama. Kalen DeBoer was like the 5th choice, and they ended up not as good because other coaches were like, yeah, no, I'll stay where I'm at, and I'm just going to win where I'm at, like Dan Lanning and Kirby Smart and those guys. It's more about the coaches, I think. If they can win anywhere, it doesn't matter where you're. I don't need blue blood program to win these.
I just think
games.
I clearly think it's just person dependent. I think it's like a personality thing. We can't know whether or not Dusty May would because
we're not in his head.
Like the same reason Mark Few never took another job, but plenty of other guys did. Like we don't. Like I still get the allure. The allure is simple. It's a blue blood. It is the prestige that comes with being a coach of one of those things and becoming like a legacy coach. Dusty May is a great coach, and if he wins this one national championship and none anymore, people will maybe remember Dusty May, but if you win one national championship at Kansas, people will remember you.
What's crazy is we don't even know what anybody's rosters fully are going to look like next year because there's 1,000 players in the transfer portal. Yet there's already odds for next year. Like that's what's amazing. Like we know the recruiting classes for some of the schools, but we still have no idea what the starting 5 is for any program fully yet. And yet, like Duke's the favorite next year at 9-1, Florida 11-1, Arizona has the 3rd best odds at 14-1, Illinois, Kansas, Michigan, Michigan State are all 16-1. And then Arkansas, Connecticut, Houston are all 18-1. But it's like, how can you? We don't know anybody's roster fully yet.
We have Michigan State makes sense because Izzo's got that pedigree of keeping players.
But we have no idea for sure. We think Stokes maybe is going to Kansas. We think Flory is maybe transferring. We don't know. Like Mizzou just lost one of their, not lost fully yet. He's in the portal. Looks like he's going to leave. It's just crazy. We have no idea what anybody's starting five is going to fully look like yet. And yet there's odds already to win the title for next year.
I mean, just ballpark it, I guess. Now, some of these, they probably know some of the players who might be coming back to their respective programs.
Sure, yes.
But I mean, pretty much everybody enters the portal at this point. Like almost everybody's top scores in the portal.
And if you're Duke, you're going to spend money on Flory. You're going to spend money on John Blackwell. If you're Kentucky, you're going to do that same thing where they just think that those programs that have the most money will just get the best players because they can.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's no doubt. They'll always spend. That is not the, because that's why, like, when you're saying, like, some of the odds gold, some of the odds we don't have to think that hard about. I can tell you, without knowing anybody's roster, any player play for them, Duke will probably be pretty good. Kansas will probably be pretty good. Like, now, like Drew just said, Michigan's got the third-ranked class. I don't know who all they're losing, but they're losing some good players.
Lindeborg, so Mara might be gone.
Like that alone,
Cadeau
it's like
gone.
you better have the third best recruiting class. But that's also the problem. In college basketball, recruiting classes don't automatically result in wins either.
No.
In the long run, because unfortunately for some of these schools who get these top 5 recruiting classes, by the time you might bear the fruit on that year 2, they might be playing for a different team. The transfer portal hits so quick, the recruiting class stuff almost doesn't matter as much as your ability to recruit transfers. And so, and obviously Dusty May did an excellent job of that. Again, that is easily the most impressive part of this entire thing. They looked like the better team much of last night. UConn tried to get back in it, but they were just like hoping they'd make enough threes to stay.
The fact UConn even got to the national title game is ridiculously impressive. And that's why Dan Hurley, gets a ton of credit for getting that UConn team to the national title game. But just like that, man, college basketball season is over. That's it. We got MLB season. We got NBA.
So what do we got left? We just baseball season now?
Baseball and NBA. And then next thing you know, it'll be NFL training camp. That's where we're at. We got the draft 2 weeks from this coming Thursday. Don't forget our draft coverage on 96.5 The Fan, brought to you by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. From here, for wherever you are, that's the benefit of blue. All right, coming up next, though, we're going to talk some Royals baseball. Yesterday, they get back to 500. The bullpen, though, continues to be a concern. And we'll take a look at what we expect to have take place later on this afternoon in Cleveland.
What's up, KC? It's Matt Strahm from the Kansas City Royals. You're listening to Cody and Gold on your home for Royals baseball, 96.5 The Fan.
Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. 96.5 The Fan.
Now's the time to complete that painting project you've been putting off. CertaPro Painters provides a free estimate quickly and at the right price. Whether it's interior or exterior, you'll never have to wonder what's next. They provide reliable updates because they know how important your home is to you. Ask about their spring sales event for 10% off qualifying projects through May 15th. Remember, each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated right here in Kansas City. Schedule your free estimate online at CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C.
You know what scared Kathy more than surgery? Giving up her active life, turning down opportunities to do the things she loves.
I found myself saying, no, I don't want to do that because of pain. It was really limiting my activities in every way.
And then came the diagnosis.
You need 2 full knee replacements. I don't have time for a double knee replacement, and I don't like pain. So no.
But that's not how her story ends. She tried something different, QC Kinetics. It was cutting edge, but natural and much easier on her body with thousands of patient success stories.
I went to QC Kinetics. Within a couple of weeks, I was absolutely pain-free, no pain. I feel fantastic. Too much life to live, and I want to stay in motion as long as I possibly can.
Don't let pain decide what you say yes or no to. Live your best life. They'll make sure of it at QC Kinetics, starting with a free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299. 816-412-6299.
What if you could have the most reliable Wi-Fi? And get this, what if you could keep it at the same price for 5 years? That's the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Just 5 years of fiber-powered Wi-Fi that boosts speeds to the devices that need them most. That finds and fixes problems before you even notice them. Like super intelligent Wi-Fi with a 6th sense. And that keeps you gaming in the fast lane, even when the whole family's banking on bandwidth. And here's the best part. No annual contracts, no hidden fees, and our best equipment included. Plus, get online in minutes with same-day Wi-Fi. Hey, let's face it, a lot can change in 5 years. Kids grow taller, dreams grow bigger, but your Wi-Fi? It would stay reliable and the price would stay put. The Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions apply. Powered by fiber. Connected to the premises by coaxial cable. Actual speeds vary.
Call Hamilton today for our $79 mainline drain cleaning special. The pros at Hamilton will inspect your drains with video camera technology to pinpoint exactly what is needed to clear those clogs and help prevent expensive drain repairs. The expert technicians at Hamilton are ready 7 days a week to solve your problem the right way, the first time. Over 40 years experience and more than 8,000 5-star reviews are great reasons to trust Hamilton. Visit callhamilton.com/radio for details, terms, and conditions.
License number 2025-11121.
This is the story of the one. As a procurement manager for a hospital system, she keeps every facility in her network stocked and ready. That's why she counts on Grainger to be her single source for thousands of products, from disinfectants to lighting, air filters, and more. And with fast, dependable delivery, Grainger helps her keep every facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
There's a difference between liking a house and actually getting it. Redfin is built to make up that difference and close the gap between finding and owning the home for you. Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents, so when you find a home you love, you're not a step behind when it's time to make an offer. That means less watching great homes disappear and more focus on the ones you'll actually move into and call home. Redfin helps turn saved listings into real addresses. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
I need a little ranch, step to the ranch. There's a new flavor in town, the Jalapeno Ranch Club at Chick-fil-A. With that juicy Chick-fil-A original spicy or grilled chicken, a buttermilk ranch bun, candied bacon, pepper jack cheese, and jalapeno ranch sauce. It's got big ranch vibes with a little heat. Chick-fil-A's new Jalapeno Ranch Club, available for a limited time only. Order ahead on the Chick-fil-A app.
There's a difference between liking a house and actually getting it. Redfin is built to make up that difference and close the gap between finding and owning the home for you. Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents, so when you find a home you love, you're not a step behind when it's time to make an offer. That means less watching great homes disappear and more focus on the ones you'll actually move into and call home. Redfin helps turn saved listings into real addresses. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
This report is brought to you by CM Mosen Son, HVAC, plumbing, and electrical services. CMMosenSon.com.
Dispatch, this is Mindy at CM Mosen Son. Coming to terms with a dying ACE unit is tough. If you need to replace your AC, visit cmmosenson.com to schedule your free estimate. CM Mosen Son. License 202919. Terms and conditions apply.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the DM Injury Law Studios. Mike's got this.
Car, truck, or motorcycle wreck? Remember, Mike's got this.
816-888-7500. Mike's got this. Hey, it's Scott Parks, and we've launched Beyond the Pitch KC, a podcast on how Kansas City landed the world's largest sporting event, presented by Commerce Bank. Visit commercebank.com/soccer26. Subscribe on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Here is Hoskins now, their DH, and he'll swing and line it off the glove of Garcia. Bobby has it, goes to second for one on the first two. How about that? A 5-6-4-3 double play.
Literally around the horn. Don't see that very often. Steve Stewart, Jake Eisenberg there on 96.5 The Fan. That was the first 5-6-4-3 double play since 1995. So if you're like, I've never heard that, well, that makes sense. None of us really have in a very, very long time. Bizarre double play, part of the Royals' victory yesterday against the Guardians. To get back to 500, that's always a good thing, no matter how early or late in the season it is. And now you have a chance against a division rival to ensure a series win if you can get a win today and not have to go into tomorrow with a rubber match. Get it done today, and we could be talking about them going for a sweep tomorrow. I think a couple things stood out in yesterday's game. Number one, Michael Walker continues to, as we always say, gets lost in the shuffle, but he just continues to go out there and be as solid as all get out. He was sensational yesterday, and he's off to a terrific start in 2 outings. Yesterday, 7 innings, 3 hits, an earned run,
he was
3
awesome.
walks, was terrific. His first outing, we all know, against the Braves, 6 innings, just gave up 3 hits. This was a start that was pushed back because he was sick, but in 2 outings, 13 innings, 6 hits, 1 earned run. He has been about as good as you could possibly ask for.
Yeah, and the starting pitching overall has obviously been very, very, very good again. The story at last night's game, other than the weirdo 5-6-4-3 double play, which you pointed out hadn't happened since 1995, isn't just, here's a fun anomaly for the game yesterday. The story was Waka. Waka was great. And then the story, in my opinion, continues to be that the Royals have to win with pitching because that's the only choice. I saw that stat yesterday, and I feared we were living in deja vu because the Guardians won the same way last year. It was like, hey, number of games in which their team scored less than 4 runs. And it was Guardians, 109 games. Royals, 106. And as a reminder, that's the Guardians who won the division and the Royals who were fighting for a playoff spot for a majority of the season. I was like, these two teams, 215 combined games in which their team scored less than 4 runs, 4 runs or less. And I was like, last night another win, 4-2. Feels like they got to win every game, 4-3, 4-2, 4-1. The second the other team gets to 5, it's like, well, that was fun, but that's probably it. Now, I understand they won a game over the weekend scoring 8 runs. They also lost 2 when the opposing team scored 8 and then 5. And so, like, they're already at 6 games this season in which they've scored 4 or less, the Royals. So it just feels like they're gearing right back up into that same range.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities from a season ago.
Yeah, there are.
You know, unless
Vinny keeps coming up with runners in scoring position every at bat.
That happened a ton last year. That's why it's a big reason why the
He
RBI
leads the majors in it since the beginning of last year.
That's why the RBI numbers have been so high for him over the last year or so. And yeah, Michael Walker made it to where your bullpen at least was not as taxed. Matt Strahm, I don't know, big picture if you're concerned, but 2 outings in a row now. He's given up a combined 3 runs in his last 2 outings. Last night it was a solo shot, but 3 runs in back-to-back outings, something to keep an eye on. Again, it's why I still think, you know, you do want to see if you can eventually get Carlos's velocity back up and back in the bullpen, because you're really leaning on Strahm and Urseg quite a bit right now. And both have been, I'll say at times, inconsistent in the 10 games that the Royals have played.
In fairness, it's like at some point you do, you know, once you get to 16 games, you've played 10%, you know, like you've played 10% of the season. It's still a small sample size, but it's not nothing. I still think the thing that stands out to me the most is how is it that Jonathan India, Kyle Isbell, like Carter Jensen, at least that makes sense.
Solo shot yesterday, right?
Yeah. So his second home run of the year, but they have 4 players with 2 home runs. India, Isbell, Jensen, and Salvi. 2 players with 1, Collins and Garcia. And you're here to tell me still that Jack Caglione, Vinny Pasquantino, Bobby Witt Jr., they don't have one out of the park? Lane Thomas?
It is
I thought Lane
shocking.
Thomas was supposed to be a power hitter. Like, at what point can I reasonably expect somebody to start putting the ball over the wall? And look, in Bobby Witt Jr. in Vinny's case, I would say traditionally that eventually will come around and they'll start putting the ball at the ballpark. But maybe it makes it harder to get to the 30 home runs if you've now already spent 10 games, you know, not hitting the ball over, or 11 games. What are they, 5 and 6 now?
We're 10 games in, they're 500, right?
Or 500, yeah, 500. So 10 games in at 500. It's like maybe they don't get to that range yet, but like at some point you would hope to or expect it. Now, Jack Caglione, maybe his is just he's trying to put the ball in play, be comfortable.
Yeah, he's getting on base. So
he is getting on base.
I don't think anybody should be worried about the power for him. That is always going to be there. Get the plate discipline, confidence up. The power the power's not just, he didn't just lose power. So that's not concerning. Am I surprised to see that him and Vinny and these guys don't have home runs? Sure. But those to me will come. I think more importantly for the development of Jack Caglione, bigger picture for this year and his entire career is actually what we're seeing in the first 10, which is specifically when he's not facing a lefty, because Sunday was rough. But he's more confident. He's a little more disciplined when he's facing righties. You know, against the lefty on Sunday, he did not see the baseball very well. But I don't think anybody should be worried. I actually think this is a great sign so far for Cags.
Oh, no, again, I think it's easier for him to be like, well,
is Bobby getting an extra base hit today for the first time all year?
I mean, I hope so. Again, if Vern wants me on the on-deck, anytime he wants me on the on-deck show to make a bet, the only day he asked me was Friday, and it was rain out, so my bet really didn't matter. But like, I think with Caglione and with Bobby and with Vinny, that the power numbers are eventually going to come and that the runs will come. The one thing I will say, and I had looked it up because I was texting someone last night after Caglione, believe it or not, got out. He popped out that sky pop-out goal he had in like the 4th inning. And one thing I felt like, it just felt like cursory, like I had been paying attention to it, but not something that was like an easy stat, which was he was getting way more counts back to 3-2. Like even in the counts, he was down 1-2 or down, like whatever. He's down a strike, down a couple strikes, down 0-2, down 1-2. He's working them full way more often, and that's because his chase rate is down. It just is. His chase rate's down. And so his ability to at least not strike out on every single pitch that is getting thrown to him with 2 strikes absolutely stands out. Now, I don't know who cares about advanced stats. He's not bearing the ball as much. His exit velocity's way up, though. So, like, he's hitting the ball harder. He's just not hitting it as often or in the air. I do think the power numbers eventually will come for all 3 of those. I would just like it to start sooner rather than later. That's all. They could be tied. I got to shave today. They could be
tied for first if they win. If they win today, they're tied for first, which means you're not allowed to shave again.
Okay, so I'm going to shave today. I'm going to shave right when I get home.
Oh, yeah, you're not allowed to after the game if they win. So.
Yeah, that's the problem. And maybe I feel like they're going to win today.
913-586-7965 from the 785. They're 500, but 3-1 against the division. Isn't that promising?
That is a good sign.
Certainly better than the alternative. We all know the Guardians also.
National League teams.
Yeah, they are, and the Guardians are a pesky team that finds a way to be in the divisional hunt every year. And so, if you could win the first series of the year against the Guardians, yeah. And they have a chance to ensure that with the win today.
Bullpen still your biggest concern? I mean, it was going into the season. It's hard when your fears become realized, I guess.
I mean, we're 10 games in, so I always want to make sure we recognize that aspect of it. But, the bullpen thought they had a closer heading into opening day. They don't right now. And then, as I said, Matt Strahm, throughout his career in the last couple of years, you look at the numbers, I think he'll be all right. The last 2 outings have been a little rough for him. That's all. 3 runs in the last 2 outings. Hopefully that's just one of those. You're not going to ever be perfect, but that would be my only concern is still the back end of the bullpen. They had a cushion last night, but in a 1-run game right now, and I tell you that the bullpen has to cover 3 innings, how confident are you right now?
Leery. To say, and look, I was glad Ursak was available last night. That ended up being beneficial because he was excellent. So at the very least, they were able, and he pitched 30 pitches the game before.
So he's probably definitely not available today.
But I mean,
after what happened,
it's just hard to be overly worried about the bullpen when I know they got the rotation they do. Cole Reagan's 3.5 earned run average. Chris Bubich coming off a rough start, still has a 4 earned run average. Lugo's been excellent, sub-2. Walker's sub-1. Like
that was always going to be the strength, though, and had to be the strength of the team.
And so, like in so many ways, it's like, I'll figure it out. Look, if you look at the ERAs of the bullpen, it's not great. It is a bit bleak, at least in that perspective. But there's plenty of hope that I would just think that if Estevez comes back, and there are some guys in the AAA marks that I think could be improvement if for some reason those guys continue to struggle.
And today, Noah Cameron back at it, as you mentioned, his ERA just in his first outing, 1.8 ERA, 5 strikeouts. They go up against Gavin Williams today, who is got a 2.25 ERA, 17 strikeouts though in 2 outings already for Gavin Williams. So the strikeout numbers are there for him. We'll see how the Royals handle that in particular. I don't have
the Royals favor today.
Some of the splits on how some Royals players fare against Gavin Williams historically. The Royals, are they favorites today? My guess is they will be even.
Slight dogs. They're minus 103 on the money line. The Guardians are minus 117.
Yeah, the Royals are even +1. Yeah, even money at FanDuel plus 100. So even money total 6.5 over under 6.5 on a cold day in Cleveland.
Said it's 30 degrees and this guy has struck out 17 guys in 2 games. Ain't nobody scoring. Well, this feels like a day. That's a crazy low number.
6.5
for any baseball game. That's a low.
That's as low as you'll see for a baseball game.
That's about as low of a total as you'll get.
6 and 6.5 are as low as you'll ever see for an MLB game in terms of a total.
That makes me want to take the over. And I have not and would not suggest taking the over very often in a Royals baseball game. They've hit the under like 9 out of 10 times. Bobby's 8 out of 10 times.
Bobby's the favorite to hit a home run today, plus 540. Jose Ramirez plus 560. Salvi 6-1, and then Rhys Hoskins and Vinny have the same odds at 6 or plus 630.
Where's Cags?
11-1.
Nobody's getting the ball.
11-1 to hit a home run.
That's the problem. Nobody's getting the ball out of the park today.
Probably right.
That's the genuine issue. We'll talk more Royals baseball tomorrow, obviously. So they'll have another game coming up here in just about an hour and a half. But I was thinking about the wide receivers a little bit more. We had a lengthy conversation yesterday about Rashee Rice and what to expect now that he's back and whether we'd pay him or trade him or all this other stuff. And then I was just trying to decide for a former first-round pick who Andy Reid still continues to gush about at least this offseason about the potential of where he could go, and with a real wide receivers coach, is there a world in which Xavier Worthy could be the number one wide receiver for this team? I was just trying to decide
this year,
could he supplant Rashee Rice? How about post Rashee Rice? Is it possible? Because pre-Rashee Rice, I'm kind of with you. They've never indicated a desire to throw to Xavier Worthy more than they want to throw to Rashee Rice. But they spent a first-round pick on the guy. So have they already just abandoned the idea that he could be a number one wideout in the NFL?
I mean, if you want to continue with the comps of Devonta Smith and everything that he got comped to, Devonta Smith's not a number one. They got A.J. Brown out there, and I understand Rashee Rice is not A.J. Brown, but I think some of it is the style of wide receiver you are too, and whether or not you are legitimately a number one. And I think in this 2026 season, there is no scenario where Xavier Worthy is the better receiver all year. I'm still high on Worthy having a bounce-back season and a breakout year after being hurt all season. It's year 3, the new wide receiver coach. But I will be shocked if you tell me Rashee Rice is healthy and they both play, let's call it virtually the same amount of games. Rashee Rice is going to put up better numbers. We'll get more opportunities. And that's before we even know if they add another wide receiver into the mix that could be a top pick. I don't think there's any scenario where Worthy, barring an injury from Rice, that Worthy has better numbers this year than Rice. I think his numbers will be better than they have been. But.
In a weird way, it feels like then I have to concede the fact that Xavier, a first-round pick who they spent a premium pick on, I have to already concede he has no chance of ever being a number one wide receiver? Are we there? Are we already there with Worthy? And I just didn't realize we had accepted that fact? Because if I think there's any chance of him being a number one, I would think there's got to be some chance of him supplanting.
Be honest though,
Rashee Rice this year.
Be honest though, when they drafted Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice was already on the team. Now take the suspension part out of it. Did you honestly think on draft night Xavier Worthy was going to be better than Rashee Rice?
I would have put it at a lower probability, but I would still think that you don't take a guy in the first round unless you think that's plausible.
I hear. I'm just saying for you
it shouldn't be off the table.
I'm just saying, did fans think Worthy would be better than Rashee Rice when they drafted him on draft night?
I wouldn't have taken that chance just because I already
I don't
knew
think
Worthy.
I don't think the answer is yes.
I already thought Rice was good, right? He had already had that 950-yard rookie season, so it'd have been very hard to answer saying I for sure think if you made me choose between the two, I would have chosen Rice. But I would have told you again on draft day that you don't take Xavier Worthy unless you think he can take over and be the number one target for this team. Doesn't mean he has to turn into that.
When was Devonta Smith drafted?
He was in the first round.
And he's a number 2 receiver.
Probably in the 20s.
Again, the argument would be they have A.J. Brown, but he's a number 2 receiver. Is Devonta Smith ever going to be really a number 1?
But when they took Devonta Smith, did they already have A.J. Brown, or did they trade for A.J. Brown after they had determined on Devonta Smith? Because that to me is always kind of the interesting timeline, too.
A.J. Brown trade to Eagles happened when?
Let me look up when Devonta Smith got drafted.
April 28th of 2022 was the A.J. Brown trade. When was Devonta Smith?
2021. So, it's different.
Year.
What happened is they got a full year of Devonta Smith and said, probably not going to be a number 1 anytime soon. Come on down, A.J. Brown. The reverse happened in a weird way and look, they could have just drafted Xavier Worthy saying, we're hoping for a high-end number 2. I'm not, they took him late in the first round. I'm not saying they had to go into it. I just don't know that you spend a first-round pick unless you're planning on hoping that the best-case scenario is that's your number 1 starter.
That's always the peak, but also I think there's a difference. For this year, for example, you draft Worthy in the 20s. All right, this year, if they spend pick 9 on Carnell Tate or Lemon or Tyson, when you spend a top 10 pick on a wide receiver, then I'm way more on board with what you're saying, which is, that guy has to be eventually,
Which is where they took Devonta. They took him 10th.
Worthy was a late first round pick. I understand they traded up for him, in fairness, so they did give up even more assets on top of it. But that would be the only differentiator for me of what we're discussing here. But I think Xavier Worthy still could be a high-end number 2 wide receiver in this league. But for 2026, I'll be shocked if he outdoes production-wise Rice, assuming Rice is available. And this is the first time we're going to head into training camp, knock on wood, where there is nothing holding Rashee Rice back.
And so, I was looking up because I'm curious, what's a reasonable expectation for a number 2 wide receiver? Number 2 wide receiver, the leader in the clubhouse last year was Devonta Smith, not surprising, at 1,008 yards. He did have 1,000 yards. Michael Wilson for Arizona. We call him their number 2. He was their 1 last year.
Yeah, but that's also just a mess of a situation. Marvin Harrison Jr. has been
Let's just leave that one out for a minute because I can't figure out a way to parse that. The next up, number 2 wide receiver would have been Jalen Waddle. He had 910 yards. He was the number 2 going into the season. He eventually became their 1 after the injury took place. Parker Washington at 847. How far down do I have to go to get? Did I miss T. Higgins? How many yards did T. Higgins finish with last year?
Not as many because he was hurt for 5 or 6 games.
The concussion problem. That's
I
his
think he
concern.
missed 4 or 5 games last
Keenan
year.
Allen at 777.
846 for Higgins, by the way.
But I think that if you're a number 2 wide receiver, if you're a high-end number 2, which again, that should be the basement for a guy you take in the first round. Like a good end number 2. 800 yards should be the expectation this year for Worthy.
Now, yesterday on Instagram, Rashee Rice and Tyquan Thornton were both on IG, and they were talking about wide receiver desires moving forward for the Chiefs and who they want in the wide receiver room.
Say, do y'all want a vet or a rookie in the receiver room? It don't matter, bro.
Don't matter.
A dog.
AJ Brown would be nice in the room, but we go get Cornell Tate or something, that'd be fine too. I ain't gonna lie.
Well, they want to see that right there.
I ain't gonna lie, that's gonna be crazy. We a young room already, so it don't really matter what we do, bro. We already young anyway.
Well, this about to be year 5. I feel like that's vet. Man, nah.
So he's like, we're vets now at this point in time. You heard what he said about Cornell Tate. He's like, that'd be kind of nice to have somebody like Cornell Tate in the wide receiver room as well.
I mean, at this point, you got to welcome the competition just to be an excellent offense again. It's not going to stop you from getting paid. I mean, look at what Jacoby Myers got or anybody else. Like, if you produce inside of an excellent, or T. Higgins got, if you produce inside an excellent wide receiver room, they'll still get you paid. Like, it's not a question about whether or not you're going to find some way to be a part of it. And so, like I got to figure out which way to go with it. Like, I don't know. I mean, why not Cornell Tate? I still think the most fun thing for the Chiefs offseason would be they take a wide receiver at 9. It'd be hard for that not to be the most exciting, way to enter the season. What will Mahomes do coming off the injury? And now they've got Rice for sure because he's not suspended, Xavier Worthy, and Cornell Tate or Mekhi Lemon, that's easily the most interesting possible way. Or even a guy at 40. I hate to say that. And I saw someone yesterday, and I hate to be so down on somebody in April, but somebody said, well, you guys aren't talking about Jalen Rose. He's still the unknown.
Best case scenario, he's what? Best case scenario this year, where they might draft a receiver on top of it. Best case scenario is he's 400 yards this year. Truly,
I think that's too optimistic.
Well, that's that best case scenario.
That's pie in the sky. The entire wide receiver unit trip over each other and get hurt.
Yeah,
he might finish with 400 yards. Genuinely, if you made me take the over under on 199.5 yards, I'd take the under. I might take the under on 99.5.
I'd take the over on that just because.
But it's just
out of principle, I think I'd take the over.
I'm not trying to be a hater.
Yeah, I think he'll.
I just don't think that's ever going to happen.
More involved.
I think he's most likely 275.
Man had 2 catches last year.
Yeah, he'll be
more.
But Juju, more often.
Yeah, but Juju's not going to be on the roster.
Hollywood's on the roster.
Even if they draft a receiver, he's to me 250 to 300.
He should be more involved.
199.5. You take the over.
I would. Yeah.
You take the over.
Yeah.
I'm taking the under.
If he's not more involved than that, then that was a dud of a 4th round pick.
I
a
agree.
Complete dud.
I agree.
Those happen, man. Cornell Powell was a 4th round pick. I don't think he ever or 5th.
I understand.
He never saw the field.
No,
that's what he would be.
I totally understand that, but
those
if you're a dud, you're a dud.
Cornell Powell played in,
and they treated him like a dud. I guess sometimes we just pretend every player is not some developmental. Their offense stunk. Nobody could get open, and even in that offense, they weren't what if Jalen Royals took a route? Not played all the time. What if we just what if we let that man run one route and saw what happened?
They never gave him the chance.
They never gave him or Brashard Smith the chance.
They were throwing to, was it Peyton Hendershot last year or was that 2 years ago? They were throwing to guys you've never heard of before him. They were way down the depth chart at tight end. They'll throw to anybody but Jalen.
But again,
Rose.
right now, the depth chart, and I think we all expect him to draft at least one wide receiver, but right now,